Good morning, everyone. It is Coach Williams. My name is Cassandra Williams of Cassandra Williams Enterprise, and this is your morning tea. I help wives, busy professional women, and kingdom leaders build the life that they've always dreamed of and live there. I am a certified professional life and empowerment coach, your victory coach, and the founder of Wise Wives Build. And we are out here for the morning tea. And I hope something be said during this broadcast that you will feel equipped, you will feel empowered, you will feel encouraged to act. And thank you to the replay viewers. Thank you guys that will come in at a later time. I hope you will watch through its entirety and that something will be said that will be a blessing to you. Good morning, Anita. Thanks for being here this morning. And so, what we're going to talk about today is Wednesday we talked about it's personal, and that there were certain things that were happening and going on in our life, and that we had kind of been questioning a little bit about what was going on, why are we here, why do we feel the way we feel. But can I tell you, it was personal, that it had nothing to do with everybody else. It was all about us. And so today we're going to talk about limitless God, limited people. And we're going to talk about boundaries. And sometimes, y'all, that's a bad word. That's one of those, that's right underneath that, that S word, that submission word that we don't like to hear, right? And so when we talk about boundaries, many times we look at it and we live with boundaries all the time. So it's not something we don't live with, it's just something we don't like to set, right? We get boundaries inflicted upon us, if you will, every day. If you are driving in a car, you have a guardrail to your right, you have that center line to your left. Guess what? That's a boundary. That's keeping you in the road. That lets you know don't go too far right, don't go too far left, because then you'll be going into ongoing traffic. And bad things happen when you do that, right? So those boundary lines are there to keep you safe. Okay. Those homeowners, you have a property line, which is your boundary line. You can't build over that line without, notifying. There's certain things you can't do unless you notify your neighbor and get their consent and you come to an agreement, because guess what? You're outside of your boundaries. You're outside of your line. So your property line is a boundary to let you know what you can do on your private property, right? This is my space, mine. Okay. And so when we look at those, we often think of, when I say boundaries, then it's like, oh man, okay. We immediately start thinking about other people. Oh, yeah, I need to set boundaries with her. Oh, yeah, I need to do this with him. Yeah, I need to set this up right here, this way with my kids. We start to think about other people, right? And so a boundary is simply defined as a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line, okay? And so we start to immediately think outward when we think boundaries. Well, today I want you to think inward. We're going to continue this theme of it's personal. Okay. Because I was like, man, we're going somewhere with this. And I'm like, oh, I was like, oh, we're gonna be down the road, around the corner. And I was like, I knew exactly how this talk was gonna go till I got up this morning. And it completely shifted. So we're going to go with God this morning, right? So when you think about boundaries and you think about saying no, because that's one of the hardest boundaries for us to put in place, is to be able to say no, period. And what does that mean? There are times where you're going to have to be able to say, I can't do that. I can't be there. You're going to have to be like, no, that's not going to work out for me because I got this. And one more thing is going to just wipe you out. And then now you're not effective. You're not good for anybody because you're so tired. You've just worn yourself thin. And I had to learn how to say no to people because I had a spirit of people pleasing. And so when I couldn't say no, I was everywhere doing everything for everybody. And guess what? It didn't work. It didn't work for me. It worked for them. They got everything that they needed. And guess what? I was tired. I was tired. Okay. So when we think about that boundaries, learning to say no. We immediately think about 5 people. I know if I tell you how to think about 5 people you need to learn to say no to, you can rattle them off, right? But here's the thing. Can you say no to you? Can you say no to yourself? Can you deny yourself? Can you set boundaries with yourself to say, you know what? I'm not going to eat that. I know I'm not going to go there. No, we're not going to watch that. No, we're not going to say that. No, we're going to do this, this, and this to make us better. Right? And so there are times where the boundary line isn't with other people. It's not even about you setting a boundary with other people. It's about you setting a boundary with you, within you, for you to be able to be the best version of yourself as well. Because a lot of times, y'all, to be completely honest, we're not putting up boundary lines, we're putting up walls. We are keeping people out. We are marking territory and we're causing division. We're not just setting up our boundaries. We are literally, you don't come over here, I'm not coming over there, and it's a rigid line, right? And so when I started to look at what God would really have me to say, one of my favorite scriptures comes from Proverbs 4:23 through 27. But I normally stop at Proverbs 4:23, right? So let's look at that. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." And then that's normally where we stop, because we get that God has just given me permission to keep them out and for me to guard my heart, right? I got permission. That's what it say. But when I began to really read through and look at it and deep dive into it earlier this morning, it says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Keep your mouth free of perversity. Keep corrupt talk from your lips. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths of your feet and be steadfast in all of your ways. Do not turn to the right or the left. Keep your foot from evil. When you look at that, that's all about me, you, us, the reader. He says, guard your heart, but then goes through all of these things that boundaries you need to set. Keep your eyes, let your eyes look straight ahead, fix your gaze, keep your mouth from perversity, keep corrupt talk off of your lips. So now we're getting all of these instructions of boundaries that we should have, that we have to discipline ourselves in, right? Because we can't, because there are times we want to put boundaries, we want to put limits on other people, but we want to do whatever we want to do. And that's not good. That's not the way it works. You have to have boundaries for yourself. And then, yes, you have to have boundaries from others. Boundaries are good, y'all. Henry Cloud says it this way. Boundaries define us. They define what is me and what is not me. A boundary shows where I end and someone else begins. And a lot of times when I read that, I was like, a boundary shows where I end and someone else begins. And so that, to me, that's a good thing, because that's awareness. And that lets me know where I am and then where they begin. There are times that there are people in your life, and can I tell you, you're expecting the wrong thing? Or maybe you're expecting the right thing from the wrong person. But sometimes it's what you're expecting from someone else is really what you need to be giving to yourself. But we don't want to do that. We want it to come from the outside. We want everybody else to be at fault. Can I tell you, you're going to have to do some self-evaluation in this 2021. You're going to have to look within yourself to say, God, is it me? Or sometimes it ain't even a question of, is it me? You're going to just have to stand flat-footed in front of the Father and say, it's me, it's me, it's me, oh Lord. There were times where I had to say, God, it's me. me. And I had to, regardless of what everybody else was saying, my boundary was not keep them out. My boundary was, God, I'm going to stay right here on this altar until you deliver me. I'm going to stay right here on this altar until you get all that foolishness out of my heart. I'm going to stay right here on this altar until that doesn't hurt anymore. I'm going to stay right here on this altar until this doesn't run through my head and control my thoughts anymore. I'm going to stay right here on this altar. And can I tell you something? It wasn't nobody but me and God. Because guess what? Nobody else knew what was going on in my head. They thought I was good. They thought I was good. I was serving a limitless God. I was standing there and Israel was singing, no limits, no boundaries. I see increase all around me. Stretch forth, break forth, release me, enlarge my territory. We were sitting there, hands lifted, and we were singing. And I was a mess because I'm a limited person. But I had to learn that, you know what? How did I get here? And I had to learn to set boundaries for myself. I had to learn to say, you know what, Cassandra, you can't have that whole piece of cake. You can't have a whole cake in the house because you can't tell yourself no. So you know what? I have to go get me a piece of cake. I have to get a slice. I have to get a cupcake if I want something. So you have to know yourself and put boundaries around yourself. There's certain things I don't bring in the house, or at least I didn't for a season. There was a season we didn't have Oreos and all of that stuff in the house, not because my son doesn't like it, or we only had like the little packs. You know why? Because guess what? I didn't need Oreos. So I had to set boundaries for me. And yes, did my son be like, man, can we have this? And I was like, we can't have that right now. You know why? Not because he couldn't have it, because I couldn't say no. And now that I can say no, then there's certain things that he's able to have again that it can be in the house and I can walk right past it and it don't talk to me. But what are your boundaries you need to set for yourself? Some of you need to set boundaries that, you know what, I'm going to go to bed at night. I'm going to rest. Can y'all help coach? Can y'all pray for me? Can y'all pray that God would let me go to bed? I get creative when I'm working on things. I get creative at night when I'm working on a project. So I have been working on projects. So my sleep is kind of off a little bit, but my projects are done, right? So that's the sacrifice is that I have to give up a little sleep, but I get things done. But some of you, you need to, but see, even with me being up and being productive, after a certain time, my phone is off. Or we don't, most of my friends know after about 9:30, 10 o'clock, we don't talk anymore. But it's like at a certain time, everything shuts down. And so you have to have those boundaries so you can be productive, so you can get things done and not just be busy, y'all. It's time out for being busy. It's time out. If you know that you can't, you need to post, you need to do all of this. If you know you cannot do social media without scrolling, and 3 hours later you still scrolling, you need to set a timer. You need to boundaries, boundaries. Give yourself. I've heard so many people say, I go out to do my posts and they do what they do and they set themselves a timer. And after that timer, they have to shut it down because they have to put boundaries around themselves and their time. So, what are those personal things that you need to put boundaries around for yourself? Not for anybody else, for you to make you the best version of yourself. Because it's not always about those other people. Well, I need to tell them no. No, you need to tell yourself no. You need to look inside and say, why do you feel the need to tell them yes for everything? Because you could possibly be at a place where you know what you like their validation. You're a people pleaser, and you need them to tell you how great you are because you don't believe it. Can I tell you that's a hard place to be in? Is for somebody to be telling you how great you are. You always needing them to validate you. Oh my God, you're awesome. God, you do great work. Oh my God, you're amazing. Da, da, da. But can you tell you that you're amazing? Can you tell yourself that, oh my God, you're great? Can you tell yourself that, you know what, you are the apple of God's eye. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. God didn't make no junk. You're awesome. Can you look in the mirror and tell yourself that? While you looking for everybody else to pat you on the back, can you pat yourself on the back and say, I did that? And it's not being cocky, it's being confident in who God called you to be. Who told you that it was not good for you to? That's another one that people put. And I ain't gonna say people. Well, somebody probably said it and you took it on, but that you can't tell yourself that you did a good job. What? When you do something great, pat yourself on the back. Tell yourself you did a great job. Be your own cheerleader. Don't look for everybody else to cheer you on. Do it yourself. So today we're talking about setting boundaries, but we're not. Yes, yes, and yes. You have to set boundaries with other people, but sometimes we're so busy setting those boundaries with other people that we forget to set boundaries for ourselves. We forget to set those boundaries to say, you know what? This is what I need. This is how I need to take care of me. This is how I need to protect me. This is how I need to make sure that I stay in a good place. Proverbs 4:23 through 27. It gives you a list of things that you can do, boundaries you can set. Keep keep your mouth free of perversity. Keep corrupt talk off your lips. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet and be steadfast in all your ways. Boundaries. Okay? So boundaries are a good thing. They're not bad. But sometimes, y'all, the boundaries are not with other people. The boundaries are within you. Okay? So have an amazing Friday, Freedom Friday, y'all. Go out, make today great. Okay? I hope something was said during this teaching that you feel equipped, you feel empowered, you feel encouraged to act on today, that you're going to reevaluate. You're going to look at those boundaries. What are some of the boundaries that you need to set for yourself? As always, you can connect with me at www.thecassandrawilliams.com. If you are a lady, married, or an Esther in waiting, and you want to connect with like minded women that are on this journey, go to www.wisewisebuild.com, because in our relationships, our marital relationships, we also have to have boundaries. We have to have boundaries with our spouse, we have to have boundaries with others. And so that will, this will spill over into relationships as well, because if we don't establish those boundaries, then the enemy, people just weave in and out of your relationships, and you got to stand flat-footed at some point and say, not my house. You're not welcome here. You can't come in and out in this area, right? Good morning, Mari. Thanks for coming in, sis. So that's boundaries, because God, guys, we do serve a limitless God, but we are limited people, and in our limitations, we have to set boundaries. We have to understand what our boundaries are. There are certain things in my business. It's like, you know what? I outsource it because I'm like, you know what? I know my limits. That's not my in my wheelhouse. So my boundary is, okay, I can do this, this, and this, but this I'm gonna have to pay somebody to do it. That's my boundary. That's a boundary for me. That keeps me from wasting time doing things that are outside of my sphere of influence and capacity. Okay. So know what your boundaries are. Not everything is bad. Not all boundaries are bad. Boundaries are really, really good for you. But we have to learn how to not only set them for other people to keep them out or to keep them away or whatever. We have to learn to set boundaries for ourselves as well, to allow ourselves to be great, to keep us functioning at optimum capacity. That's what boundaries do. They protect your time, they protect your influence, they protect just you. Setting boundaries with your eating habits, that protects you. That gets you in the best place that you need to be physically to do the things that God has you to do. So have an amazing Friday, guys. Um, like I said, do me a favor, go out there and be great. And tell someone about the morning tea. We are here every Wednesday and Friday. We are on Clubhouse on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we just do little pop ups here and there. So have an amazing weekend. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you for sharing, tagging, and inviting others to the conversation. Be blessed, everyone. Bye bye.